for the hardcore fans that listen to Pride and Prejudice, if you remember, I mentioned that the local vet next door, their cat's name is Mr. Darcy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then the other week, Isabelle and I had to go to the vet to get our annual checkup. The pets had to get checked out, Milo and Twinkie. Mr. Darcy, the cat, was there. He came out for a bit and then stalked off, as cats are wont to do. And I was like, there he goes, off to propose awkwardly to Elizabeth Bennet. And then Isabelle was like, I don't get it. The vetceptionist was like, yeah, you shouldn't drink. I'm on fire. The vetceptionist commended me for knowing classic literature. And then I was like, actually, that's just from our podcast. That's where we do like classic literature. And then, yeah.
Man, I wish we had business cards. You could have just slid one over the table.
Or I could have said, oh, it's on so-and-so.
Spotify, iTunes,
and
Stitcher.
It was meant to be on Spotify, iTunes, but it was not. And,
it is now, at the moment that you're hearing this.
Oh, yeah. And another thing on Pride and Prejudice, me and my other housemate Jacinda watched that horrible movie After. You know, that sexy teen romance thing where she's like, a good girl, she gets to college, and she meets the bad boy.
Oh, so it's called, the name of the...
Is After.
Okay, right.
And it's actually Harry Styles fan fiction.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh
and
my God.
I commend the fan fiction writer that hustled so hard. She turned it into a book series and now a movie series. But anyway, the guy that plays the bad boy is Baby Voldemort. Not
nice.
The one that talks to Slughorn. It's like, what's a Horcrux? Like the little one. You know, the one that sets the dresser on fire?
Yeah,
and Dumbledore's
he's got an upsetting face. What was he? Wasn't he the bad guy, like the bad little kid in Merlin too, or whatever, the BBC thing?
Anyway, so that was happening. And they're both in a advanced literature class because they're very smart. Anyway, and they're talking about...
Is that how you talk about me behind my back?
No. Everyone listen to my other podcast.
You bitch!
What's it about? Anyway, they talk about Pride and Prejudice, and they have an argument about it. And this is what Lord Voldemort, young Lord Voldemort, has to say about it. And of course, he's British because the actor is British. Yeah. But his British accent is so funny because apparently he talks like I talk when I put on a British accent. So this will be
like.
Oh no, like this. But anyway, this is what he says about Pride and Prejudice. Okay. And it's so funny. I had to pause it and write it down. So they were talking about how the girl, obviously, she loves Elizabeth Bennet. She loves Pride and Prejudice, because, she's
I'm not like other girls.
Yeah, and then the guy was like, this is what he says. Oh, my God.
She just rolled up her sleeves.
Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill. Apparently, Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill. That's what it is.
Pretty clearly Darcy who needs to chill.
I know!
Throughout that entire book.
And they have, like, this heated argument about it. But anyway...
It's like, Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, actually. Keep that.
In the end, they actually, they break up, but then the literature professor gives her his paper, because she's like, I think this was written for you. And I'm like, that's not how assignments work, whatever.
Whoa, that's super not allowed.
I know, how unethical. Okay. But anyway.
Fire this man.
Woman.
What did we just reveal?
Women can be literature professors. You hag.
So sorry.
Anyway.
I'm gonna be cancelled.
Cancel
My career is over.
At her, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that it? Yeah.
Heck, no, it wasn't.
Oh, there's more?
No, I was about to finish my story,
sorry,
and then you were like, fuck.
Please continue.
Anyway, she reads the paper, and of course, it's in the voiceover, like his voiceover. It was like, oh yeah, he talks about how love isn't real; it's just a social construct. Of course,
He sounds like just a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he's great, and he's got all these fake tattoos that are supposed to kind of mimic Harry Styles' tattoos. His name is Harden. Because Harry.
I bet all her friends are like, "Ugh, you're not bringing Harden to the party, are you?"
I hope so. Yeah, it actually ends with them just like ambiguously sitting next to each other. Are they gonna get back together? I don't know. Because there's 2 more movies, and I'm like, great, 2 more of these. That's what I need.
You gonna watch them though?
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
What am I starting with? You're the one that read the book.
Yeah. So welcome to Illiterature.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm Sandy.
I'm Sam.
And that was Illiterature. Good night.
Oh, thank God, right? Shut these bitches up.
Today we're doing And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, published in 1939.
That's so long ago.
It was like at the beginning of the Second World War.
Wow.
So one of many important things that happened in 1939. Since its publication, it has become the best-selling crime novel of all time.
Wow.
With over 100 million copies sold. And
more than the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because the Da Vinci Code's it's like at number 11 or something of books, most sold books of all time. And this is the 6th best-selling novel
even after
of all time.
Even after they got Tom Hanks to promote the Da Vinci Code.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what year this
the Da Vinci Code
survey was made.
It's not that good. I was just trying to rally you up. No, it's not. Really
I
big
wish it
disservice
was.
or something.
I really wanted, there was a moment in
Wasn't
high
Paul
school.
Bettany in it?
Huh? Yeah, and he was great. But there was like a moment in my life where I was like, God, in year 7 or year 8, and I was like, I was going to solve the Da Vinci Code. Like, I was just super into secret puzzles, and I thought it was like a real thing. Like, I thought there were codes to be solved.
In year 7 or 8. That's what you were doing.
And Then There Were None.
Oh.
So that's the name of the book. And
what a
there's whole
saucy
story to
title.
that.
I'm excited. For all of you at home, Sandy just quivered.
I did.
She vibrated.
That's upsetting. So, I wanted to start with a disclaimer that I have deliberately not cast anyone. Or I've not named any actors to play any of these characters.
I'll cast them.
Because I don't want to spoil the ending. I don't want you to be like, oh, that person would play the villain. So
I'll still cast them. I don't give a
Sure.
fuck.
Okay. So we begin on a train. Rolling across the English countryside.
Are you gonna talk like this the whole time? Because I'm not gonna stand for it.
Okay, so we're rolling across the English countryside towards the seaside. Well, now my normal voice sounds weird to me.
They all sound weird. Is this something that takes place wholly on a train?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, thank you. They turned that into a movie and apparently it was terrible.
It was. It was actually really disappointing.
Aww.
And it was full of really good actors as well.
I know.
So I don't know what they did wrong.
I saw the lineup and I'm like, whoa, banging. Coachella.
I know.
Oh no.
Coachella, because it's on a coach.
Yeah.
Okay, so we begin.
I have a confession. I didn't think about that, but that was really funny. I couldn't live with myself.
We begin on a train rolling across the English countryside towards the seaside town of Sticklehaven in Devon.
Are these real places?
Yes, actually.
Devon, like cheese?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Devonshire tea.
Sure.
I've been to Devon. It's really pretty.
Oh, I haven't.
And I love the idea of murders happening there because it's so pretty and quaint. But anyway, so on this train in a little booth is a man called Justice Swargrave.
What?
He's an elderly judge, like you really.
Justice.
Justice. That's his title. Justice.
Oh, I thought that was his name. I'm like that actor Justice Smith who's like in Detective Pokemon, Detective Pikachu. Okay, describe this man so I can cast him.
He's elderly. He's I think he's deceptively old. I think he's stronger maybe than he looks.
Christopher Plummer.
Ooh. Okay. Oh, I love that.
You love
That's
it?
a really good cut.
Yeah. I should be a
Sorry,
casting
Stern,
director.
you know, yeah. Was hot when he was young, maybe.
He was so hot when he was young.
Well,
Captain
rather,
Von Trapp. Oh my
rather.
god. Oh my god. I would defy his whistles just so he would spank me. But in this scenario, he's not my father.
You're gonna
He
have
can be
to
my
let me.
daddy,
You're gonna have
though.
to let me get through more than a sentence
I
at a
can't.
time. He's bound for an island that, depending on the version of the book you read, is either called Indian Island or Soldier Island.
Is this a racial thing?
Yeah, it's undergone about 3 edits.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say the original name of the island.
N-word?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you not know that, Alana? Alana's looking at me like, oh my god.
That's not the name of an island.
And I'm gonna go into this more later. This is something that we're gonna unpack
That Agatha Christie
a little
suits
bit.
racist.
Well, we'll go into this more later. So put a pin in that. But anyway,
Put a pin in racism.
for the purposes of this, I'm gonna be calling it Soldier Island.
Yeah, thank you. That's the most amenable one.
So he's thinking about the rumors that have swirled around the place. Around this island. There's a mansion there that was built by a millionaire, but he had to give it up for whatever reason. So now people are speculating about who's bought it. Some think it now belongs to a movie star or a member of the royal family. So that's where Will Graves headed. And he withdraws a letter from his pocket and he reviews the contents. It's an invitation to the island signed by an old friend of his who he hasn't seen in about 8 years, and her name is Constance Carmington. I know, great names. But this isn't super out of character, as she's kind of like a wild child. She's always been the kind who like jet sets around. Last you heard of her, she was in the Middle East smoking hookah and riding camels or whatever.
How old is she meant to be? Same age as him?
Maybe a bit younger, but like same set, I guess, you know.
Damn, let me...
70s. So he thinks to himself, Constance is exactly the kind of person who would buy a place like Soldier Island. Now, a couple of carriages down sits a woman by the name of Vera Claythorne who's looking at her own letter. It's a letter of employment from a woman called Una Nancy Owen, contracting her to work as a secretary, also on Soldier Island.
I feel like I need I need like a table to keep up with all these characters.
Okay, there's gonna be like 10 to 12 in total.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Alright, okay, you gotta help me. I gotta cast these people just so I remember who they are.
Okay, so she's like, oh, sensible, nice. I'd honestly like a Emma Watson kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
So Una Nancy is apparently the wife of the owner of the island. So Vera is reflecting on how lucky she is to get a holiday position. So we learn she's usually a school teacher. It's kind of hard to get work in the holidays, especially after being involved in a coroner's inquest at her last post.
What's a coroner's inquest?
So coroner's inquest is like an investigation into a suspicious death. So it's like
Emma
death's
Watson.
an accident, but there's an investigation anyway.
There's an asterisk.
Exactly. It's not like a homicide investigation.
It's
like a...
I'm winking to the microphone.
Yeah. So she was cleared of all potential criminal actions, but through her musings we learned that her involvement in the incident led to her lover, who's named Hugo, abandoning her.
Is Hugo important? Do I need to think about him?
You can think about him.
Okay, let's just cast him as her husband in Little Women.
Sure.
Whoever that guy
Hugo,
was.
yeah. Whatever his name is.
Whatever. What's his face? Oh, the tutor.
Mm.
Yeah, what's his face?
So she tries not to think about it.
Oh.
So she's like actively trying not to think about it, and instead she looks over at the man who's sitting across from her, a handsome tanned man.
Ooh.
And she muses about whether he's well travelled, right? Because he's tanned.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we switch to the perspective of the handsome man sitting across from her. His name's Philip Lombard.
Okay.
He's sizing her up, noting that she's also attractive.
Is there sexual tension? I think
Maybe
so.
a little bit.
So is he meant to be foreign or is he just tan?
He's just tanned. He's English. He's travelled. I was really hoping that not telling you who's cast in these roles would make it better, but I feel like it's making it way harder.
It's making it so hard.
So okay,
I don't know who they are. All right, keep going. Hottie with a tan.
Hottie with a tan. Aidan Turner plays him in the BBC version.
No, don't tell me who plays him. I'm gonna come up with him.
He's really good though. So
Maybe like Chuck
he
Bass
thinks
from Gossip Girl.
Well, so he thinks she's also attractive and sort of like capable looking, sensible looking kind of.
Yeah, Emma
woman.
Watson.
Yeah. He thinks back to a meeting he's had with a man named Mr. Morris, who's hired him on behalf of a man he's never met, a Mr. Owen. You remember she was hired by a Mrs. Owen? He's hired by a Mr. Owen.
They're hiring a lot of people.
For an ambiguous job, also on Soldier Island. He's not sure what it's meant to involve, but he was instructed to bring his revolver with him.
Ooh.
Morris had apparently hired him on account of his reputation as being, quote, good in a scrape. So he's kind of like a gun for hire, is his job. And that's kind of the capacity in which he's going to Soldier Island. Okie doke. So another carriage or two down.
Can Tom Hardy play him? No? Too old, too grown?
He could do it. Maybe a bit.
Because like
maybe a little bit younger. I don't know.
Because I imagine
I'd
someone
let
would be
late
good
30s.
in a scrape. Would be Tom Hardy, you know, little...
He could do it. He could definitely do it.
Okay, Tom Hardy's there.
Okay.
Is Cillian Murphy gonna be in this too?
Cillian Murphy could be Philip Lombard.
Blah 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 blah.
Philip Lombard with a bit of a tan. Cillian Murphy.
No. I'll find him. Okay.
Oh,
I always find him.
Another carriage or two down sits a woman called Emily Brent. She's an old conservative spinster who's sitting bolt upright as she disapproves of slouching.
Dolores Umbridge maybe could play
Yeah,
her.
definitely.
Perfect.
She's a sour old bitch. That's me. That's editorializing.
I was like, I'm sure that wasn't in the book, right?
And very religious.
Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah, so she's reflecting on an invitation of her own by someone claiming to have met her at a guest house somewhere, inviting her for a holiday on Soldier Island. The signature on the invitation is illegible, however, so she's turning in her mind who it might be from. She's like, oh, is it that lady I met there? This woman I met here?
Oh, they just signed it without, like,
obviously-
printing their name out.
Yeah.
How vague.
She's obviously not someone who's going to pass up on a free holiday just because she's not sure who it's from. On a different train, a later train to the same destination, sits a General MacArthur. He's a stuffy older man and a veteran of, I believe, the First World War. It's 39 is when it's published, and I think it's set maybe a year or two earlier, so probably the First World War. Veteran.
Don't add her.
Don't at me.
Don't add her.
And he's also been invited to, you guessed it,
Soldier Island.
His letter.
This is like Fire Festival.
Oh man. His letter has promised the company of a few old friends of his from the war. And he's glad for the invitation because he apparently doesn't get many these days on account of a rumour about something he did 30 years ago. But we don't get to find out what that is yet.
It's probably something terrible, like rape or something.
Woof.
Oh, sounds like Agatha.
No.
Maybe. Oh.
Now we switch to a car.
Wait, sorry, hang on. Who's playing potential rapist general man? Just a guy with a mustache? Nothing to lose?
I think.
Does he have to be handsome, or is he just like, oh, I was in the war?
Old
sonny?
military guy, big mustache, I guess.
Like Tom Selleck? But Tom Selleck's pretty sexy, though.
He can be sexy, you just need to be.
Alright, fine, it's Tom Selleck. Okay, he's not a rapist then, sorry.
Oof.
Because like, if you tell me something terrible, I'm like, well, obviously he didn't kill someone because he went to war, so he would have killed someone there. And they're like, all good. I'm like, what's another terrible thing?
Now we switch to a car rolling along a Devonshire road on the way to Soldier Island. Driving the car is a Dr. Armstrong, who's been called there to perform a checkup on the ailing wife of a Mr. Owen. A man he has never met before either, but was like referred to through his doctor connections.
How old is this doctor?
He's like 40s, I would say.
Can he be Patrick Wilson in like Bone Tomahawk?
Yeah.
40s, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just make everyone hot. It's fine.
Why not?
That's the only... I can only concentrate if everyone is hot.
He's wealthy, well-known doctor, and especially known for solving women's issues, if I recall correctly.
Hysteria.
He's reflecting on the good luck he's had, especially considering an incident some years ago which could have destroyed his career for good.
What are with all these...
Suddenly, another, much nicer car roars past.
Oh.
Driven by a young man named Tony Marston, who's reflecting on nothing except his sweet ride.
Oh, alright, someone young and
That's what
hot.
I wrote.
Sweet, his stang. Zac Efron?
Yeah.
In 17 again?
Yeah.
When he gets out of the car and he's like...
Flicks his hair back.
And I'm like, okay, Matthew Perry, you wish.
So, on another train,
I
guess from a different part of the country,
Yeah, sure.
is an ex-detective named Mr. Blore. So, in his hands is a list of the names of all the people that we've just visited.
Tom Selleck, yeah, etc.
The invitees to Soldier Island. He's reading it over, thinking that the job he's about to embark on will probably be pretty easy. The only other person in his carriage, an old sea dog, warns him a storm is about to come.
Oh, sounds like a dog.
A sea dog, you know, like an old dude. And also that the day of judgment is near.
So why is the detective going there?
We don't know yet.
Oh. He just has a list of names. He's like, all right.
We're gonna find out eventually. But we don't know yet.
Is this an old detective kind of guy? Like,
I would say...
can it be Cillian Murphy in time with his Matrix trench
No,
coat?
he's not smart enough. I would put, you know, the guy who plays Cillian Murphy's big brother in Peaky Blinders?
Oh, Arthur.
That's the vibe, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Arthur.
I'm Arthur. Yeah, he's kind of like lower class dude, a bit rough. You
Peaky
know.
fucking blind.
He's like, this job probably be pretty easy. Anyway, so this old sea dog comes up to him, and Blore kind of shrugs him off, thinking, well, that old dude is much closer to the day of judgment than I am, right?
Ah, death, yes.
But the narrator says, there, as it happens, he was wrong.
He died.
Not yet,
Oh.
but that's the end of chapter 1.
Ah, so the Sea Dog did it. Colonel Sea Dog Mustard in the study with a sea candlestick.
At the train station, which has been autocorrected to translation, in
At the
Stillhaven.
translation.
It's just a nice little touch. There are 2 taxis waiting to take the travellers to the dock, from which they'll be ferried to Soldier Island.
Jesus, okay.
Justice Wargrave and Emily Brent share a car. They're a bit older, so they probably don't want to be hanging
Hang on. I'm
around.
just trying to remember who these are.
Justice Wargrave is
Christopher Plummer
from the beginning.
and
Emily Brent is Dolores
Umbridge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
While Philip Lombard and Vera Claythorne,
Emma Watson and Tom Hardy.
yeah, the 2 hotties checking each
Two
other out.
hotties.
They wait together for the second
Yeah,
taxi,
of course.
which can't leave until General MacArthur arrives.
Tom Selleck.
Okay. The entire party is a bit weirded out.
Yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're there for.
Each of them have been expecting something different, and none of them have been expecting each other.
Yeah, because I guess they didn't get in the letter like, oh, BT dubs, there's some other peeps there.
Yeah. So Philip and Vera make small talk until General MacArthur arrives, and the 3 of them hop in the cab and meet up with the others at the dock.
Hang on. What?
Just like a ghost jingling bells. Like, ooh.
She's the ghost that haunts us. It's Twinkie.
And they meet up with the others at the dock, along with Justice Wargrave, and Emily Brent is a man who introduces himself as Davis, but who is really Detective Blore.
Oh, it's Arthur.
It's Arthur.
Arthur.
He's like, I'm Davis. And they're like, okay.
They're like, they'll ask whatever. I'm Davis, not Detective whatever my name is in the book.
Blore.
Blore.
My name's not Blore.
Who said that?
Despite what you may have heard, I'm Davis.
Not Detective what's his face.
Yeah, that's right. Not Blore. Yeah.
Davis.
So the man who's going to take them on the boat.
Is it the salty old sea dog?
No, it's someone else. He's also a sea dog, but his name's Fred Narracott. And I always love him because no matter what version you watch or listen to, he's always played by someone with a really adorable Devon accent. Like Hagrid, he's like, oh, I just wrap round your miss.
So can we just cast Hagrid as him?
He's just the best. He's in it for like 2 seconds.
Okay, so
but I
Hagrid's
always
there
love
with
him.
the boat. There he is.
He takes him out on the boat. Okay.
Harry.
Harry, you want to hop on this boat? I'll take you around the island.
You're a wizard.
Just before they're about to set off, Tony Marsden skids to a hole in front of them.
Zac Efron's
ride. He looks beautiful and strong as a young god.
Oh.
That's the line from the poem.
Oh, can we use Brad Pitt then instead?
No. Like, keep Zac Efron.
Fine. Can we use Brad Pitt at some point?
No.
Oh, for fuck's
Next
sake.
time, Sam.
No.
So, they all hop in the boat.
I'm inconsolable, Sadie.
And Fred rows them out towards the island. He's thinking about what a weird party of guests this
No,
is.
can you say that but in the Hagrid voice?
What a weird party of guests this is. Quite an eclectic mix of people. They don't seem like the personal friends of a millionaire. You'll remember that the rumor is a millionaire bought the island?
Well,
like,
yeah.
These people don't look like the friends of a millionaire.
Well, I don't think you can buy an island unless you have like at least a couple million in your bank account, right?
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you. Like, I don't know why you're pulling that tone of voice with me.
I don't know. I'm arguing with Hagrid.
They all land on the island and make their way up to the house.
Nice. Here we
It's
go.
a sexy modern house by 1940 standards and quite big. A mansion, if you will.
If you will.
Will you?
I shall. I have.
When they get there, they're greeted by the butler, Mr. Rogers, who tells them that their host, Mr. Owen, has unfortunately been delayed and will greet them, will come to the island later.
Can we cast the butler as Rafe Fiennes in Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yes.
Done.
But they have been instructed to make themselves at home. So their rooms are ready for them, cocktails have been mixed, and dinner is in the oven.
Fucking dope. All right.
Now, all the guests go upstairs to their room, and we're in Vera's perspective again.
How do they know? Are there labels on their rooms?
I think they just choose.
Oh, all right.
I think they're like, these are the guest rooms. You know, the butler shows them to them.
Yeah, very fine.
Sure.
So Emma Watson's here.
Emma Watson's here. She's impressed by how well appointed the room is, considering she's only going to be a little secretary. A lowly secretary.
Oh.
It has its own fireplace. There's like a marble clock in the shape of a bear on the mantelpiece.
Oh, dope. I feel like that's going to be important if you had to tell me.
On the wall is a cute, kitschy framed nursery rhyme called 10 Little Soldiers.
Oh, I remember that. They all die.
And I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you how it goes. So 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8. 8 little soldier boys travelling in Devon. One said he'd stay there, and then there were 7. 7 little soldier boys chopping up sticks. One chopped himself in half, and then there were 6.
Very hard to do that.
6 little... Tried really hard. 6 little soldier boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stung one, and then there were 5. 5
oh my
little
God,
soldier
it's my
boys.
girls. Sorry, Macaulay Culkin.
5 little soldier boys going in for law. One got in chancery, and then there were 4. 4 little soldier boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3.
A red herring.
3 little soldier boys walking in the zoo.
That's
A
what
big
MacGuffin.
bear hugged one, and then there were 2. 2 little soldier boys sitting in the sun. One got all frizzled up, and then there was 1. 1 little soldier boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself, and then there were none.
Can I just... Okay, let's count this. Emma Watson, Tom Selleck, Dolores Umbridge, Christopher Plummer, Tom Hardy, Arthur, Zac Efron.
Arthur. I'm not Blore. I'm Davis.
So far we've got 7, right? Am I missing anyone? That's...
So, Justice Wargrave, Emily Brent, Vera Claythorne, Philip Lombard, Blore, not Davis, Dr. Armstrong, Tony Marston.
Sorry, I missed Patrick Wilson. So
Um,
I've got 8. Do we count the butler?
yeah, and his wife.
Okay, so we count Ray Fiennes. We haven't met his wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the 10.
There's
plus
our
the,
10.
the 2 mysterious benefactors that we are yet to meet.
Vera.
Wait, let's talk about that creepy poem for a second.
Oh yeah? Any thoughts?
It's creepy.
All right. Vera's like, oh, that's cute. Making the connection between the soldiers in the poem and the name of the island.
Yeah, she's like, oh, Poem Island. I mean, Soldier Island.
She looks
Yeah,
out.
because it was 10 little engines. Oh, and it was 10 little... I remember. Yeah, yes.
So that's... And those are the
It used to
original
be
titles of the
10
it was
little
10 little
N-words,
exactly,
yeah.
and then it was 10 little
In-
engines, and then they changed it to 10 little soldiers.
Yeah. Yikes. 10 little Twilight vampires.
So Vera looks out her window at the waves. They're getting a bit rough and choppy now, and it makes her think on drowning.
Roppy. Yeah. What? You don't just think about drowning. Oh,
Don't you?
Unless the
sorry.
homicide she was involved with was drowning asterisk.
You said homicide, but it was just a suspicious death.
Sure.
Fred drops off Dr. Armstrong in the evening, so he's finally arrived.
Where the fuck is Fred again?
Fred
Oh,
Narracott.
Hagrid.
Fred Narracott.
Patrick Wilson's here now.
He sees Justice Wargrave on his way in, and he recognizes him. He remembers serving as an expert witness giving medical testimony at a
Justice-
trial that Justice Wargrave, Christopher Plummer, was
Thank you.
presiding over. I forget who he cast as Dr. Armstrong.
Patrick Wilson.
Yes. So he remembers that Wargrave had a reputation as quite a stern, hard judge
Ooh.
who could influence juries, especially to convict.
Oh.
He strikes up a conversation with him, and Wargrave asks about Constance Carmington, the woman who is meant to have invited him to the island.
Holland
Armstrong-
Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, Armstrong can't help him out. It looks like Constance isn't expected on this island by anyone else.
Oh.
So they're both like, well, this is kind of weird.
Ooh.
Back upstairs, Tony Marston, Zac Efron,
Oh, nice.
is taking a bath, having a grand old time.
No, you know what? Whenever I say Marston, I just keep thinking it's James
Mars.
Marston and it's
You could
Corny
do it when he was,
Collins.
like, young.
Yeah, it's Corny Collins.
I'd say like young, quite young. They're like 22.
Yeah, let's just go with Zach. It's fine. Well, I just feel like he doesn't fit in. He's not. He's.
Well, don't worry about it.
No, I'm worried. I'll put James Marston in there. There he is.
There he is.
there you are.
But even he is wondering about the weird situation. Like, he was really hoping for a more fun crowd, some babes maybe.
Yeah, what did he? Why is he there?
He got an invite from a friend as well.
What friend?
It's not
Not
in
important?
my thing, so it's not important. Blore, in the next room, is getting ready for dinner, tying his tie, and he notices an identical rhyme on the wall of his room.
Awful.
He's like, what's that? 10 little soldier boys.
So, like Wami you?
In his own room, General MacArthur is feeling uneasy and wishes he could leave.
Oh, Tom Selleck.
However, he knows the boat has already left.
Hagrid.
At this point, people are all thinking suspicious things. And that's a great thing about the way Agatha Christie has written this book. Like, in the bath, Tony Marston is thinking he's, quote, going to have to go through with it without telling what it is. It might just be the dinner with these squares. It might be something else. Dr. Armstrong thinks the island is beautiful and exciting, and maybe this makes him the killer if he's feeling... Well, the killer. Spoilers, there's going to be a murder.
Right.
But she, like, keeps leaving these threads. You see in everyone's mind. You get to hear everyone's thoughts. And all of them still could be the killer, and they also could be victims, which is really, really fun and exciting.
Now I kind of wish we were watching this tonight, but alas.
Anyway, everyone goes downstairs, and they're dressed up, and they start to mingle, drinks are flowing, and they at last start to relax. Mr. Rogers and his wife, it turns out they're the only staff on the island.
Who would his wife be?
This is always so hard.
Molly Weasley.
Weasley. Whoa! So they're the only staff on the island. They've prepared a lovely spread, despite people being worried. Like, some of the guests are worried that just the two of them looking after 8 people would be, like, too much for the pair.
They can do it.
So everyone notices a kind of display in the middle of the dining table. A set of 10 figurines shaped like little soldiers. Vera, I'm pretty sure it's Vera, comments on it. And she's like, oh, like the poem. And you're like, do you have one? Did you see that in my room there's a poem? I'm like, oh, in mine too. And everyone seems to have, like, this poem in their room.
Oh my god. You know what my thoughts are right now? It's two rich people. It's Battle Royale. People are gonna kill each other somewhere. Or that new movie, The Hunt.
The Hunt. Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, it's out available for download now.
Game, I think is the book.
Apparently, it's not that great. Someone said Ready or Not was better, which is Ready or Not was a great movie, but The Hunt. Oh.
After dinner, they head into the drawing room where the Rogerses are bringing them tea and coffee. You know, it's very polite and civilized in English. Suddenly, a disembodied mechanical voice says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I charge you with the following indictments." And it proceeds to list all the names of the guests, followed by the names of people they have supposedly murdered. So let's go through them.
Yes, please. Emma Watson, who'd you kill?
No, let's start with Dr. Armstrong, because he's the first one I wrote.
Okay, Patrick Wilson, what do you do?
He was charged with murdering a woman called Louisa Mary Cleese on his operating table when he was drunk. So, medical malpractice.
Okay.
Justice Wargrave is supposed to have convicted a jury to hang an innocent man, a man named Edward Seaton. General MacArthur sent the lover of his wife, a man named Arthur Richmond, who was an officer under him in the army, on a suicide mission. Mr. and Mrs. Rogers are accused of...
Oh, them too?
Yeah, of murdering Jennifer Brady, their last mistress. A single woman with little family to speak of who was, like, in ill health. They
their
could have
last
given her...
mistress?
Yeah. They could have given her medical assistance, but they withheld it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant they were having, like, a fucking throuple or something.
No. Like, mistress is in, like, mistress of the house they worked in. Like, the woman
so they
version
didn't
of
help
Master. No, they didn't. They let her.
Why?
Die. Because she didn't have any family and she left them quite a bit of money.
I see.
Tony Marston is accused of murdering John and Lucy Coombs, 2 little children he ran over with his
sweet
bitchin' car.
Oh, no.
Emily Brent, the old religious lady.
Dolores, yeah.
Drove a maid who worked for her to suicide when she fired her upon learning she was pregnant. Philip Lombard, hottie.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
What did he do?
He left 21 members of an East African tribe to die, taking their food and water and abandoning them in the Congo.
Why would you do that?
Looking out for number 1.
Sandy is your name on this list.
Blore is accused with his real name, by the way.
He's like, nah, that's not me.
Who's Blore?
That's crazy. I'm Davis, aren't I?
Let's find this Blore, man. Of giving false testimony on a man named James Landor in a bank robbery case that led to him dying in jail.
Okay.
Finally, Vera Claythorne is accused of killing Cyril Hawthorne, a boy who she let drown. That's why she was thinking about drowning.
Asterisk.
The apps. While the record is playing, they hear a crash outside the room. Mrs. Rogers, who is carrying a tray of, like, crumpets or some shit, she's fainted.
Well, yeah, this is very faint-worthy news.
The men, who are, like, angered and freaking out, they start tearing around the house to find the source of the voice. Turns out it's a gramophone in the next room, playing a record entitled Swan Song. Rogers admits that he put the record on at the behest of his employer, Mr. Owen, who'd written him an instruction to do so in a letter. He's like, when everyone is taking tea, put this record on.
I love that. Oh, this is so spoopy.
I know. They managed to revive Mrs. Rogers with some brandy, and Mr. Rogers and Dr. Armstrong help put her to bed.
Who's Mr. Rogers?
The
Rafe.
butler, her husband.
Or as Tim Curry would have.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
So Dr. Armstrong gives her some sleeping pills to like chill her out and let her
Nice.
sleep. While they wait for those dudes to come back, people help themselves to liquor.
Yeah, why not?
It's there, well provided for a spoopy evening. Rogers comes back. He explains that neither yes.
Does this all happen in the span of an evening? Like this whole
Not the whole story, but so far everything that's happened has happened on the same day. Rogers explains that neither he nor his wife ever met their employer.
Okay.
They were appointed with an agency, and they've just been receiving instructions by letter to get everything set up on the island. So no one here has met the Owens. It becomes clear. And everyone else takes turn explaining their own invitations to the island, which we've already gone over.
Yeah.
It becomes clear that something hinky is going on.
Really? Just now?
Justice Wargrave, who's pretty on the ball, points out that the recording mentioned a Mr. Blore and not a Mr. Davis. So everyone is immediately suspicious of Blore.
Who's Blore?
Who grudgingly reveals that the reason he used an alias was to conduct a private investigation into the party, which he was asked to do by Mrs. Owen, who was worried about her jewels or something. Someone was going to steal her jewels and he needed to come and investigate.
Like her vapes? Rubies?
Yes, so he's just as in the dark as the rest of them, is what we learn from that.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I
am Blore.
You know what I said earlier was a Blore? I am. Blore.
So, Justice Wargrave notes that the initials of the two owners, UN, so Uninazi or Ulrich Norman.
Nazi, are you saying?
Nancy.
Okay.
Owen, sound like and may stand for unknown.
Spoopy.
Unknown.
What's I don't know.
Anyway, the next order of business seems to be clearing their names of these accusations that this spectral voice has accused them all of. They address the accusations on the record. Armstrong says he can't remember the woman who he seems to be accused of killing. He says
he's drunk at all times. Yeah.
He doesn't say that, but he's like, people die on the table all the time. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, with like a scalpel and Brady's like, I don't know.
Spilling like brandy in the room, like, oh!
Let's say for the opera game, like, take out her uterus, and they're like, she's here for like, she's got an appendectomy. He's like, take that out too.
And you can't see it, but Sam is splashing brandy everywhere.
Like, what?
Imaginary brandy. Yeah, he's like, sometimes it just happens. A lot of the people I operate on are old. They just can't handle it. Privately, though, he admonishes himself for being a drunk.
He's like, oh my god, you know who he is? He's Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when he's like having that freak out in his trailer.
Looking in the mirror,
he's just like, I'll fucking kill you. And he's like, you're never drinking again. He's like, fuck. That's him.
Yes. That scene made me laugh till I cried.
I know. I was there with you.
Yeah.
We watched it together.
We did.
We were next to each other. I wiped your tears.
Tenderly.
Kissed your cheek.
Said, don't cry.
Don't cry, it's embarrassing.
Who's next? Wargrave says, yes, I did influence the jury to hang Seaton, but I was privy to evidence that was not before the court.
Sounds unethical, Christopher Plummer, but whatever.
Yes, so he doesn't regret it at all.
Yeah, he's just like...
He's like, no I'm old, I fear nothing.
No regrets.
Regrets. Vera tells the group that she was Cyril Hamilton's governess and was cleared of any guilt in a coroner's inquest. God damn it. She's particularly shaken of the group. She's like...
She drowned the boy. She do it.
Emily Brent refuses to speak to the accusation at all. She won't talk about it. General MacArthur denies sending Arthur Richmond to his death. He says it was just a reconnaissance mission. It was just the business of war, and he simultaneously denies that his wife was unfaithful and slept with Arthur Richmond.
Sounds a lot like his wife was sleeping with him, and he sent him on a suicide mission.
Lombard says, "Well, I must be the only guilty one here then." And he freely admits to leaving 21 Africans to die. He says he did it to save himself and that he's not sorry.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Tony Marston struggles to recall the names John and Lucy Coombs, but eventually figures out they must be the two kids he ran over on accident that one time.
He's like, I remember that.
Frightfully inconvenient.
That one time I ran over some kids.
Oh, yes, I remember. Mr. Rogers says their previous mistress died naturally. They couldn't reach the doctor in time. You're very suspicious of all these people.
Of course I am. One of them's a killer.
Law insists Randall was guilty. Wargrave suggests they all leave in the morning when the boat arrives, and everyone else agrees. However, mere seconds later, Tony Marston takes a swig of his drink, chokes on it, foams at the mouth, and dies.
They kill off the Hardy.
Yeah, they do. So, Armstrong examines the drink and finds potassium cyanide. He's a doctor, remember? He's like, you need a doctor in situations like this.
Yeah.
At first, everyone assumes he committed suicide because Marston poured it himself, right?
Sure.
However, everyone finds it increasingly hard to believe. Like, why would Tony Marston kill himself?
Yeah,
he doesn't seem like he was in
he
any
loves
kind
his
of
car.
emotion.
Yeah.
He loves his car. He doesn't seem like he has a care in the world.
Yeah,
he's really young. He's really rich. Like, why?
Super hot. Yeah. Why not?
Eventually, the men take the body. Yeah.
Who plays him in the BBC one?
The same guy who plays Pip in the BBC one.
Timothy Chalamet?
No. The one that we looked up before, whose name I forget.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know the one? Punchable.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Punchable.
Mr. Punchable.
He's really good.
Okay.
Yes, you're allowed to inquire who plays people after they die.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you.
Okay, he's dead. Bye. What was the first line in that creepy poem? 10 little
soldier boys.
Why me you?
I think going into dine, one choked his little self and then the knife. Two chokes.
Okay, so he chokes the first one. We should have that up at all times.
Sorry.
We should.
Not that more people are gonna die necessarily.
The title of the book is And Then There Were None. Not And Then There Were Nine. Alright? Oh wow, she loved that.
It did. I'm sorry if that blew up.
Yeah, I think you broke both microphones.
Eventually, the men take the body up to his room and lay a sheet over it. Rogers cleans up down below, while everyone else goes up to their rooms for the night, truly shaken. Each guest locks their doors. Click. The house seems all the more spooky for being so brightly lit and modern. It's like there's nowhere to hide. If anything was hiding. But there's nowhere to hide. So
Closets.
what's going on?
Like secret passageways. The books that, you pull them out and they move and then you're like, whoa!
But it's like minimalist, man. There's like no books. There's like one coffee table book. I don't know what it looks like. But anyway, downstairs, while he's cleaning up, Rogers notices that there are only 9 little soldier statues remaining on the table. Upstairs in her room, Vera muses on her time as Cyril's governess.
She's like, remember when I grabbed that kid?
She was in love with Cyril's cousin Hugo, who before Cyril was born, stood to inherit the sizable estate. With Cyril as heir, however, Hugo was too poor to marry Vera.
Oh.
She remembers the day Cyril died when he begged her over and over and over again to swim out to the rock, and she said no because he was too small. She lights on the poem again, noticing the similarity with what just happened in the poem's lyric, one choked his little self and then there were 9. Mm-hmm. As you were right to make that connection. Well done, Sam.
You're welcome, me.
Armstrong has a nightmare about killing a patient on his table who looks like Emily Brent.
Oh.
And then Marston. He wakes up to Rogers standing over him, asking him to come see his wife, who won't wake up. She's died in her sleep, perhaps from overdosing on sleeping pills, but Rogers says she only took the pills that Armstrong gave her. Now in the morning, the guests are all up and hoping to see Fred Narakov's boat come into view.
Oh, Agrid.
Vera Lombard and Blore. So Vera, Philip, and Blore.
Blore. Me.
It's me, Blore.
The real one. For reals. Blore. Me.
They go up to the top of the island to keep a lookout for it, but it doesn't appear. Armstrong announces Mrs. Rogers' death after breakfast, so as not to spoil everyone's appetite. Nice guy.
Armstrong's the doctor, right?
Yeah. When Rogers appears, the butler, they offer their condolences, but when he leaves, they start to speculate. Maybe nerves, maybe a guilty conscience. Mrs. Brent's idea, this is how she might have died. From nerves or a guilty conscience. Blore suggests that Rogers killed her to keep their secret from being exposed. After brekkie...
Oh, nice. How Australian of them. That's a Vegemite or something.
I just didn't want to type out breakfast. Blore and Lombard have a hushed conversation on the terrace. Lombard. Oh,
That's
cute,
their ship
cute
name.
couple name, yeah.
Wait,
They have a
Lombard's Tom
hushed-
Hardy, right?
Yes.
Okay,
they have a hushed conversation on the terrace, confirming their suspicions. The boat will not come. MacArthur walks past them, seeming a little dazed.
Who's MacArthur?
He's the soldier,
Okay.
the general.
Tom Selleck.
Seeming a little dazed, saying none of them will ever leave the island.
That's like, you'll never get off the island. Shutter Island. Oh my god, Leonardo DiCaprio was in this twice.
They're all played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
God, yes.
I would pay so much money to see that. I would have to pay so much money to see that.
Yeah, because you have to pay him for every
10
role.
times.
So it's like at least $2 million per role.
Oh my god.
Think about all the CGI. Like, you know, with Lindsay Lohan in Parent Trap, but
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio in
I love it
Island
so much.
Trap. I don't know, 10 People Trap.
10 little Leos.
And then there were nunnos.
Rogers pulls Armstrong aside, frightened and confused, to tell him the figures. Somehow, it appears there are now only 8.
Who's doing it? Oh,
Emily.
please don't tell me the twist ending. Someone's a schizophrenic and somehow they were doing it. I hate that.
Emily and Vera go for a walk together, where Emily at last tells the story
Ooh.
of Beatrice Taylor,
Here we go.
the
Here we
woman
go.
who she drove to drown herself. Not a subject to talk about. Yeah, not a subject to talk about in front of men, apparently.
Yeah, girl stuff.
Girl stuff. Emily insists she did the right thing, but Vera is shocked. She's like, Jesus. Meanwhile, Armstrong, the doctor, tells Lombard, the guy who killed 21 dudes, about the figurines. One person dead could be an accident, but 2? They figure that the host, Mr. Owen, is a serial killer hiding somewhere on the island, and they decide that they have to start searching for him. They get Blore on board for the search. Blore, and they start turning the island upside down, trying to find this mysterious 11th person. There's not a lot of hidey holes on the island or in the house. Twerk!
Hello.
How dare you.
I did it. I killed them.
Okay, so there's not a lot of hidey holes in the house. During the search, it's revealed that Lombard has a revolver, which Blore doesn't like at all. Why got that revolver?
Don't like it.
I don't like that at all.
Blore, no.
This man, Blore, don't like it.
Poor Arthur.
They run into MacArthur sitting out on the beach, staring out to sea. He says there is very little time and he'd like to be left alone.
I keep forgetting who MacArthur is. Tom Selleck,
Tom
right?
Selleck, yeah.
Thank you.
Coral Mustard.
Oh yeah, let him
And
die.
they figure he's like lost his mind.
Yeah, it's fine.
They start talking about signaling the mainland, maybe with a big bonfire or something, but Philip notices there's a storm brewing, which is sure to cut them off completely.
Who's Philip?
Lombard.
Okay. See, you can't switch between the last names and their first names.
Phil.
Don't do that. They'll probably listen to this.
Lombard suggests it's also likely that people on the mainland have been told by Mr. Owen or whomever to disregard signals from the island.
Yeah, they're just playing.
Owen would have probably thought of that, right?
Yeah, of course. He's thought of this whole elaborate thing.
Exactly. And he's like, oh, dang it, I forgot the signals. He's like walking away, twirling his mustache, like, wait, shit.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
mainlanders are like, it's fine. The bonfire's for fun.
The men find some cliffs. They want to search for caves, but they need rope to do so, so they send Blore back to the house for the rope. Meanwhile, Vera is going for a walk around the island and comes across MacArthur. He talks about how relieved he is that it's finally almost all over, and he begins to murmur the name of his dead wife.
Why is his wife
Leslie. Blore.
Blow.
Blah. Blah. I'm Blore.
I'm back with the rope.
He comes back to find Armstrong alone.
Blow. Back with
Lombard
the ropes.
went to check a theory on something. So they've all been left alone at some point, is the point.
You know what that means.
Blore and Armstrong hold a rope for Lombard, and while he's down there, they gossip a bit about his gun. Why does he have it, etc.
He's like, I can hear you.
Anyway, they don't find anything, and they head back to the house, which they begin to systematically search. Of course, big modern house that it is, there's hardly any hiding places, and the search is over pretty quickly. Towards the end of the search, however, they hear footsteps above them coming from the butler's room. Turns out it's the butler.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Rogers, gathering some clothes and stuff to move into one of the empty guest rooms as he doesn't really want to sleep next to his dead wife.
Oh, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah, everyone's like, that's fair enough. As their search comes to an end, they realise something disturbing.
What is it? There's only 7 figures left, isn't there?
There is no one on the island except the 8 of them.
I love it. It's so spooky.
The killer is one of us.
It's that movie with John Cusack where they're in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
What's that fucking called? Identity? I'm pretty sure it's Identity.
Lombard and Blore and Armstrong discuss how Mrs. Rogers may have been poisoned. Blore, never one to make friends, suggests that Armstrong poisoned her. He's like, I'm right here. When he gave her the sleeping pills, by accident or on purpose. He's like, by accident, I guess. If you say it wasn't on purpose. And Armstrong's like, shut up, you asshole. Lombard scoffs at him, which angers Blore more, and he demands to know why Lombard has a gun.
Blore more.
Lombard at last explains the details of his own invitation to the island, that he's there as a mercenary. At first, he didn't want to tell them, as he thought that the events of last night might have been the exact sort of trouble he was hired to deal with. Now he's certain he's as clueless and at risk as the rest of them. Nice. So, the bell rings for lunch. Poor Rogers has been doing his absolute best to cook for the party without his wife to help.
Oh, he's still doing it?
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have to, now that people are getting killed.
And lunch is cold ham, tongue, ew, and a couple of other canned things.
He can literally just, like, sit on a chair, smoke, and be like, doesn't matter.
But he's English, by God, and he's gonna do it.
Devin.
He's anxious, no one will like it.
Oh,
but
no.
most people feel sorry for him and are nice.
And they're just like, it's fine.
People talk about the approaching storm for a bit until Armstrong appears at the door out of breath. Vera immediately is like, oh, MacArthur is dead. And Armstrong's like, bingo, yes, MacArthur is dead. And he is.
How'd he die?
He was killed by a violent blow to the back of the head. They found him on the beach where he was sitting before. So now he's dead, I can tell you. He was played by Sam Neill in the beach.
Ah!
So
that makes sense. Actually, you know what? Yeah. Sam Neill and Peaky Blinders. Got him.
Yeah. As Blore and Armstrong fetch the man's body, the storm finally hits the island and starts to howl around the house. They are stuck. Vera and Rogers notice that there are now only 7 figurines. Everyone gathers in the drawing room, except Rogers, because he's a servant and not even triple homicide can shake the foundations of the English class system.
That's a really great line.
Thank you so much.
That was really funny.
Thanks.
Well, insightful, deep, like cutting, and, you know, but like
satirical.
Modern,
Yeah. Thanks
yeah.
so much. Wargrave, who's been quietly musing all day, suddenly takes charge.
Who's this fucking guy again?
Christopher Plummer.
Oh, yeah.
The
Justice.
judge. Yeah. He's been like thinking it over.
He's been
Sitting
mulling
back in
it over,
his
just
chair.
like, this is
And
him
now he's
slowly.
like, all right, now sit down. And he's decided it's Wargrave's time.
He blows the whistle. That's time. Captain Von Trappist.
So he says he reckons the conclusion he's come to is that one of the guests is the murderer.
Well, yeah. Who else could it be?
And the other dudes are like, oh yeah, we figured that out too. Vera is the only one who doesn't want to believe this theory. They're like, silly woman. And they start trying to clear people of suspicion, a la like whereabouts at different times of death, but it looks like no one can be cleared for almost anything. Like some people can be cleared for one thing, but not the other two. And it's like all like that. Besides, more than one of them could be working together, right?
Yeah.
So Wargrave wants them all to be on their guard. Later on, Vera and Lombard are talking in the living room.
Just fuck. Y'all's gonna die anyway.
Neither one suspects the other. They both come out and they're like, I don't think it's you.
They're both idiots. And they should fuck.
Vera thinks Lombard is too focused on self-preservation to have any grand designs for cosmic justice. You know, she's like...
You're too self-absorbed. I like it.
Yeah. And Lombard thinks that Vera is too sane, if I recall correctly. That's the word he used.
I guess that's nice.
They begin to speculate who the murderer could be. Lombard thinks Wargrave. After many years playing God as a judge, maybe he's gone mad and wants to be the executioner too. Vera disagrees. She thinks it's Armstrong. He's the only man in the group with medical knowledge, a bag full of drugs, and the opportunity to kill MacArthur when he fetched him for lunch. He can also say anything about the deaths and no one will be able to contradict him as he's the only one with any sort of medical knowledge.
Yeah, he's got his brandy and he's just like, wow, medical school.
Blore is hanging around Rogers, who's polishing silver because domestic servitude waits for no man's homicidal rampage.
You're really outdoing yourself.
Thank you. I just think it's weird that Rogers just keeps doing all this stuff.
What else is he gonna do? His wife's dead.
He's like, well, polish some silver.
Yeah, but, like, I can't imagine him just sitting on like a fainting couch, smoking like 10 cigarettes in a row, going, "Doesn't matter."
They're like, "Someone gonna pour tea?" He's like, "Not me."
He's just like, "She's dead."
Blore says he suspects someone, but will not say who.
Oh, Blore.
But I think we all know he suspects Lombard. Why has he got a gun?
Oh my god, what happened?
Why has he got a gun? Meanwhile, Wargrave and Armstrong are also talking. Wargrave says that while he has no evidence that would stand up in a court of law, he thinks he knows the identity of the murderer.
Who is it?
Armstrong thinks Wargrave looks keen to hold on to his own life, and Wargrave thinks Armstrong can think only in cliches and won't be much use. So everyone's sounding guilty in their heads. Up in her room, Emily Brent writes in her diary, but before long, she begins to feel groggy and writes in her diary that she thinks the killer is Beatrice Taylor, the girl who drowned herself.
The pregnant one?
Yeah.
Alright.
When she comes to her senses and reads
Could
the
be
line,
the baby.
she wonders if she's going mad. And she is. Everyone gathers in the drawing room again for tea time. And they relax a bit because it's tea time, god damn it. Rogers pops in to ask if anyone knows why a red curtain from the bathroom is missing.
A red curtain from the bathroom?
I think it's like the shower curtain. It's like
Why is it red?
I don't know. It's just red.
Why does he know it's missing? Does he inspect all the bathrooms periodically? He's like,
I'm the butler, good lord.
God damn it.
Dinner is canned shit again. And
Can't he cook?
And everyone, I think they're just running out of stuff. Everyone locks their doors behind them when it's bedtime. Mm-hmm. Rogers, feeling on edge, locks the dining room door to make sure no one can move any of the figurines in the night. Mm-hmm. Lombard sleeps in. When he wakes up, he wonders why Rogers hasn't come to wake them all.
Oh no.
He wakes up the rest of them, except Blore, Brent, and Wargrave, who are already awake. But the rest of them go downstairs with Philip Lombard to find Rogers is missing. Emily comes in from outside in a raincoat, Miss Brent, saying she went for a nice little walk.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, did she? Maybe. I don't know. When they enter the dining room, Vera points out that another statue is missing.
I thought that was locked.
By Rogers, though. And Rogers is missing. Mm-hmm. The search for Rogers becomes frantic until at last they find him in a woodshed with an axe embedded in his neck.
Oh, it's getting gorier. Mm-hmm. Oh no, now they have no servants. They have to decide which one of them is the lowest class and make that person serve them. Probably Vera.
Vera loses her cool and starts to hysterically scream about the poem. One chopped himself in half, etc. Yeah. But Armstrong slaps her in the face because that's how you deal with hysteria in the medical biz.
Oh yeah.
She comes to herself again and she actually thanks him because it's the 40s. It's 39 actually. So
what?
He says it's normal for women to be hysterical. He's probably removed the uteruses, the fucker. That's what I wrote.
Probably.
The women go about preparing breakfast. There's your answer.
There we go.
The women.
There we go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Blore tells Lombard he thinks Emily Brent might be the killer because she was on a little walk at the time and she's crazy and religious enough. Lombard doesn't reckon she has the gonads for it though. Literally, I don't think he thinks a woman could murder a dude.
Oh, I'd love for it to be a woman.
During this conversation, Blore also admits to Lombard that he testified against an innocent man. He was on the take, a corrupt cop. So he's finally, admitting to it.
Off.
Blore. Vera is not entirely together, staring off into space while the bacon burns, thinking about Cyril drowning, wondering aloud if Emily is afraid to die. She's like, "Are you afraid to die, Emily?" Emily is visibly nervous, but they manage to get breakfast on the table.
They burnt the bacon, though.
Some of Emily's grey knitting wool has also gone missing. Beauty dubs.
Some of what?
Emily Brent's knitting wool. Grey knitting wool. Oh. Mm-hmm. At breakfast, everyone is low-key freaking out.
Well, they should be high-key freaking
bacon.
out. But, yeah.
Christie gives us the thoughts of some people at the table without telling us who's thinking them, which is a really cool device.
What'd
some
she
of these
do then?
thoughts
I like them.
Would it work? I wonder. It's worth trying. The damned fool. He believed every word I said to him. It was easy. Things like that.
Wait, more!
No, I don't have any more. After brekkie, Wargrave suggests a house meeting. Someone's not doing the dishes, is it?
Yeah, they're just like... I know
We
you
have
guys-
ants.
Oh my god, stop. Don't do that right now. That is... Oh my god.
Someone keeps leaving their laundry in the washer. I don't want to have to take out your laundry every time I go to put in my laundry. Also, someone keeps murdering people.
Oh, and final thing on the list. Who's murdering us?
Emily doesn't feel so good, so she remains in her spot at the table. And Armstrong offers her some Valium or something.
Or something.
What a good guy. But she rejects him out of hand. She's not going to take anything from anyone.
Fair enough.
As the others file out, she sees a bee at the window and starts thinking about honey. She senses someone walking behind her. She thinks the person is Beatrice Taylor dripping with water from the river where she drowned herself. And then she feels a prick in her neck.
Is she allergic to bees or something?
That's not a murder weapon. In the drawing room, Blore says Emily might be the killer. And Vera's like, yeah. And she relays the story of Beatrice Taylor to everyone.
Oh, I trusted you with that.
They immediately find Emily turning blue in the dining room, and that idea is put to bed. She's dead. Apparently poisoned with a hypodermic syringe. Armstrong admits to having one, and when they search his bag, it's missing. Wargrove's next idea is to lock away any potential weapons in the house in 2 different locations, including Lombard's revolver and Armstrong's medicine. Everyone is strip searched, even Vera, although she at least is afforded the dignity of a swimming suit.
Good.
So she puts on like a tight swimsuit. Both of the chests with like various weapons and poisons and shit require keys. Lombard is given one and Blore the other. I think the idea is that they're the strongest men and they'd have to fight each other for the other's key.
Sure.
I don't know.
To the death. Love it.
However, Lombard's gun, when they go to get it, is missing from his bedside drawer. However, outside the dining room, during this whole search, they find the syringe and one of the missing figurines. Someone's just piffed it out the window. So they're in the drawing room, and Armstrong is chain smoking, hands shaking.
Yeah.
The generator has shut off without Rogers to take care of it, so they're using candles.
Nice, extra spoopy.
Vera offers to make tea and they accept, but then they're like, oh, but we've got to supervise you while you make it. They all agree that only one person will be allowed to go off alone at a time and the rest will stay together.
Okay.
Vera goes up to her room to take a shower and she suddenly smells the seashore where Cyril drowned.
Uh-oh.
Then she feels a cold, clammy hand on her neck. It must be Cyril's, she thinks. She screams and the men come running. They discover a piece of seaweed was hanging from an old hook in her ceiling. Lombard thinks it was meant to scare her to death. And offers her brandy, which she fends off, and he laughs and he's like, good on you, Vera. And then he goes and gets another bottle that, like, the seal hasn't been broken yet. And then she agrees to have that, and suddenly everyone realises that Wargrave isn't with them. He's the only one not there.
Daddy Warbucks?
They hurry downstairs to find him in a chair in the drawing room, a red curtain over his shoulders like a judge's robe, and Emily's missing grey wool on his head like a wig. Armstrong inspects Wargrave, confirming that he's been shot in the head. Wargrave's body is carried to his room.
I like, they're fucking with them so specifically. The seaweed. Did someone knit a little, like, cap? a little, like, the wig? I was like...
Just real fast, like,
It's like
looking at that watch, like, fuck.
Murderer clock.
Oh, it's half done, I'll have to do. It's like
half knit with the
Project
rest.
Runway.
Designer.
Wargrave's body is carried to his room. The last 4 people have cold tongue for dinner and go to bed. Everyone now thinks they know for sure who the killer is.
Alright.
Lombard notices his gun has been returned to his drawer. Vera stares at the hook in her ceiling the seaweed was hung from.
Oh, she's gonna hang herself.
Blore can't sleep, which is just as well because he hears light footfalls outside his door.
That was so spoopy.
He just has some light footfalls outside.
Oh my god.
He pokes his head out of the room and he follows them, only to see the figure of a man leaving by the front door. He wakes up Lombard and Vera. They find Armstrong is not in his room. They tell Vera to lock herself in and they go after Armstrong. In her room, Vera thinks she hears a glass breaking and then quiet footsteps in the house. Blore and Lombard return without having found Armstrong. He seems to have vanished completely. In the house, they find a window pane broken and only 3 china figures on the dining table. They eat breakfast. The storm is over and it seems as if the nightmare's over.
Oh, sure.
Lombard plans to make a bonfire to signal the mainland. They talk about who the murderer is. Blore still thinks it's Lombard. But Lombard asks why, if that were the case, he wouldn't just shoot Blore.
Yeah, like, I could just fucking kill ya.
Vera notes that in the poem it says a red herring swallowed one. She thinks Armstrong may not be dead at all.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, red herring, you guys.
Guys.
Blore says that the next line is about a zoo, which will make it harder for the murderer, and Vera snaps at him, remarking that all of them are turning into animals. At previous points in the books, actually, Wargrave is described as like a turtle, like sitting sort of like with his neck in. And then Philip is constantly described as like a panther, which is sexy, but sure. And Blore, I think, is described as a bear at one point.
Hugged by a bear.
Anyway, Vera, Blore, and Lombard spend their morning on the cliff trying to signal SOS with like a mirror.
Hang on. So if what's-his-face was a bear, that means he kills Lombard, which means Vera hangs herself, which means there is an 11th person unless someone faked their death.
Blore gets hungry and he wants to head back to the house to get some food.
He has a cold tongue.
He's nervous about going alone, but Lombard will not part with his precious revolver. When Blore is gone, Lombard suggests that Blore may be the killer, but Vera is convinced it's Armstrong. She then muses that the killer could be supernatural, but Philip scoffs at this. And reckons, he notes that it might point to a guilty conscience, and he takes the opportunity to ask Vera about, he's like, if you're getting judged, punished, then you must think there's something that you need to be punished for.
Judged.
So he takes the opportunity to ask Vera about Cyril, which she immediately denies. But then he's like, what, was there a man in it? And she suddenly feels overcome with exhaustion, and she's like, yes, there was a man in it. They hear a crash from the house. When they go to check it out, Blore's head has been crushed by a marble clock in the shape of a bear, the one from Vera's room. They think Armstrong must be in the house somewhere and retreat back to the cliffs to await rescue. However, on their way there, they see a pile of rags among the rocks along the shoreline. They go down to investigate it. It's Armstrong's dead body. They stand there, frozen.
How is Armstrong dead? What's his...
He was a red herring swallowed one, but he's just...
No, I know. What?
He just washed up. I think he drowned. Or he might have fallen on the rocks. Fallen down the cliff onto the rocks. Anyway, he did.
I feel like all their crimes or something are all connected or something, and there's one person that's gonna...
Just you wait. It's just the two of them left, and they're facing off.
Yeah.
They're like...
Mano
they're
mano.
both like... Ew.
They're the Spider-Man meme.
Vera looks at Lombard, noting how like a wolf he looks, grinning. He's grinning at her with long, sharp teeth. He says that it looks like the end has come. And she says they should move the body of Dr. Armstrong above the waterline. He says, oh, that's nice, some womanly sensitivity, that kind of thing. But he at last agrees to help her move the body. When it's done, he realizes that somehow she's taken the revolver from his pocket and she's pointing it at him.
Nice.
He decides to risk it and he lunges for the gun.
For the biscuit. Oh my god.
But she shoots him through the heart physically and emotionally.
How emotionally?
Because they were flirting before.
Oh.
Suddenly, Vera is overcome by relief and exhaustion.
She's gonna kill herself, so hang her.
She heads back to the house. Now feeling safe, all she wants to do is sleep. She sees the 3 statues still on the table. And she picks one up, trying to remember what the last line of the poem was. She thinks it might be, he got married and then there were none. It makes her think of Hugo, the man she was in love with, who suspected her of letting Cyril die, and he left her. And she did. She was like, yeah, go out, you can swim to the rock. And then she was like, oh no, and she swam after him, oh no, I can't reach him in time.
Why did she let the kid die?
Because then her lover, Hugo, would have inherited his fortune and would have had enough money to marry her.
So why didn't Hugo marry her after the kid died?
Because he loved the kid. And he's like, I think you killed this kid that I loved.
Oh, well, but she was cleared of all charges. Why can't he...
Yeah, but he just can't. He's like that.
Okay.
At the top of the stairs, she drops the revolver to the ground without even realizing. She feels sure... she feels sure that Hugo is waiting for her in her room.
Sure.
In her bedroom, hanging from the black hook in the ceiling, is a noose with a chair underneath it. She realizes Hugo wants her to hang herself. She remembers the last line of the poem is actually, he went and hanged himself, and then there were none. She climbs up on the chair and hangs herself.
Don't.
And that is the end of the story. But there's an epilogue!
Thank God. I was like, I'm gonna fucking murder you. That's gonna be 11 dead little soldiers. You're the 11th one.
Okay, so 2 policemen are discussing the strange case of the Soldier Island deaths. They've constructed much of what happened, but are still at a loss. It's revealed to us that after Vera hanged herself, the chair was put back neatly against the wall. We learn that Isaac Morris, the man who hired Lombard and Bloor, and who bought the island in the name of Mr. Owen, was a criminal and was also mysteriously murdered with potassium cyanide. It turns out the people on the mainland were instructed to ignore any distress signals as a social experiment or game was supposedly taking place
The hunt!
on the island. The police are at a loss. It is the perfect crime. The last part of the epilogue takes the form of a message in a bottle, written by...
Who was it?
Justice Wargrave.
That was Daddy Warbucks.
Sure was. He reveals that he's always been a sadistic person and has always wanted to kill, but he's also been always possessed with a keen sense of justice. Therefore, upon being diagnosed with cancer, he decided to commit his perfect crime at the end of his life, bringing people to justice who had heretofore escaped it for whatever reason.
I guess he did have access to, files.
Sure did. He was inspired by a doctor he visited who had relayed a story to him about a servant couple who killed their mistress. Not actively, but by withholding the medical help she needed. Impossible to prove. And Wargrave was like, actually, there's a lot of people who were responsible for the death of other people that it's impossible to prove in court. So he begins gathering his list of victims.
And also, it struck me that his was the only different one. He wasn't hired by the people. He had Holland Taylor inviting him.
Oh, well, Emily Brent was invited as well by a person.
Oh, yeah, the free holiday thing. Yeah,
but it's interesting, in the first one, you when he's reading his letter, his thoughts are she's exactly the kind of person who would buy an island. Something that the murderer could still think. If he's, just congratulating himself on, how tight his scheme is or whatever. It's really cool. Oh, by the way, in the BBC version, he's played by Charles Dance.
Thank you for not telling me, because if you did, I'd be like, oh, it was him.
Yeah,
he did it.
And it's pretty obvious in the BBC version. You're like, oh, it's him.
Charles, duh.
Yeah. Morris, his
how was
victim,
he so sure that Vera would kill herself?
I think if she hadn't, he would have
oh yeah,
helped her along.
Oh, but he was dead by then. Or was he?
Morris, his silent 10th victim, had sold drugs to an acquaintance of Wargrave, leading to her death. So before leaving for the island, Wargrave had poisoned Morris by giving him a phony indigestion cure.
Who's Morris?
He's the one who hired Lombard and Bloor and purchased the island on Wargrave's behalf.
Oh, so he killed this guy.
So he killed this guy too before leaving for the island with potassium cyanide. So Wargrave claims he killed in order of the greatest guilt. So it's least guilt to greatest guilt. So Mrs. Rogers and Marston were largely ignorant over malicious.
Okay.
So they got the easiest first deaths. He killed MacArthur, Rogers, and Brent by sneaking up on them. Pretty easy. But then his genius plan, he tricked Armstrong into becoming his ally, saying they would throw the killer off his game by pretending Wargrave was dead by a gunshot to the forehead. Just a little syrup, my friends. So Armstrong knows he's alive when he declares him dead and carries him up to his room. Then Wargrave and he arrange to sneak out and meet by the shore to regroup. And it's actually Wargrave Bloor sees at the door. And then they meet on the cliffside. Wargrave pushes Armstrong into the ocean. Then Wargrave returns to his room, plays dead. No one's checking on him. No one's looking under the...
Yeah, because everyone...
Yeah, they're he's dead. He's in his room.
You wouldn't.
So until he had the opportunity to crash Bloor with the clock, prevented itself. Then he let nature run its course between Vera and Lombard, both immediately suspicious of each other as soon as they're the last two people.
And whoever was left last, he'd just hang him.
He'd hang him. He sees Vera kill Lombard, is very pleased. He arranges the noose in Vera's room, letting her guilt drive her to suicide. He says that despite feeling it is as close to the perfect crime as possible, he acknowledges there are 3 clues the police could pick up on.
What are they?
His supposed murder of Edward Seaton. Seaton was guilty, so he's the only one of the group who's innocent of murder.
Yeah.
The line about the red herring points to the fact that Armstrong was somehow tricked. And 3, he plans to, this is how he dies in the end, he plans to shoot himself in the head using some Home Alone hijinks to fling the gun away afterwards. However, the mark on his forehead from the bullet will be like the mark of Cain, the first murderer, according to the book of Genesis. And that
so did he actually
is
kill
the
him?
end of the mystery.
He actually killed himself, though.
Yeah. Well, he had cancer. He was terminal.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he decided to do this whole thing, because it's a perfect crime.
I really like that, like, he didn't have to write the message in the bottle, but, like, serial killers always want to be recognized.
Would, yeah. They want attention.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'll be dead anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he does write that down. He's like, but, all sociopaths are artists, and we all want to be recognized. Like, all artists want to be recognized.
Yeah, that was fun. Charles Dance, of course. Of course it was him. Of course Tywin Lannister did it.
Yeah. Now I guess we have to talk about the title for a second.
There were none.
Not originally. It was originally 10 little N-words. Was the original title.
And then there were none?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Agatha.
Yeah. Agatha. But there is, so by erasing...
Was she Soup's racist, or was that just
like,
norms
she was like
back
a
then?
norm level of racist, but there's a really interesting, there's an interesting aspect to the story if you leave that racial element in.
Which is
the savagery underneath the proper polite class of the English society. So, like, at times in the story, you'll have Emily Brent saying, like, death is for other people. And, like, Philip Lombard, when he's talking about the East African tribe, is like, well, natives don't think of dying the same way we Westerners do. Like, it's all very, we're above them. So, in a way, by having that, by calling these good, proper, white English people...
N-words.
Savages. In a way, like, and she's not Martin Luther King Jr. Like, she's not going to be winning any awards for her racial politics, and she's, like, notoriously Orientalist in a lot of her books. But there is something to be said for the way that the comparison, I guess, is drawn between these people, and their crimes are, like, the reason they all feel like they're innocent is because they've done these things in a really civilized way in a lot of the time. You're like, oh, General MacArthur didn't kill anyone, he just sent someone to their death, and it's different. And Agatha's kind of saying, well, it's not different, it's savagery, I guess. And I'm definitely not condoning. I think it's great that they changed the title. I think it's great that they changed the poem. But I also think it's important to know about the context and the original.
How did Charles Dance deduce that Emma Watson just wanted that kid dead so her lover would inherit? I guess if you're just really observant, you put the pieces together.
I think he talked to Hugo on the train. I think he, like, ran into Hugo and he was like, oh, women, and he, like, told him about...
Ah, I see.
Yeah, firsthand, I think. And I think a lot of it was hearing about it firsthand. And some of it was, like, through the courts. I think he heard about, like, through the court. Through his, like, justice contacts, he heard about Armstrong through the courts, because Armstrong was, like, a medical witness for stuff.
Yeah. And then Lombard, just because he's a mercenary, he would have just heard
that. Yeah, he has connections, I guess.
What about Dolores Umbridge? I guess just...
Yeah, I think, people talk. I think he like, asked everyone, like... I think he was going around
Y'all got any good victims? I meant...
Exactly, yeah. Like, you guys know any stories of people who, like, killed someone but got away with it? Yeah. A really good resource on that aspect of it, the racial aspect, is this video essay on YouTube called Crime and Colonialism, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, by the user, Is This Just Fantasy? ?
Well, we can watch that after we watch the BBC.
For sure. And it's a really, really...
is it an hour per episode?
It's really good. Yeah, 90 minutes, I think.
No, oh my god, so it's a 3 movie...
I think so,
okay.
Yeah,
you have to dedicate, like, a day to it then.
Pretty much, yeah. Same as Great Expectations, which we should also do at some point.
Okay. Even though Great Expectations wasn't as good as this one.
Yeah, well, nothing's as good as this.
It wasn't as juicy as I thought it'd be, Great Expectations, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Chuck Duck.
It's just Chuck Duck. Oh, my foot's fallen asleep. Someone's murdered my foot. And then there were one that was not asleep.
One because I went to school in New Jersey.
Oh, right.
Cut that out. I don't want New Jersey people mad at me.
And then in New Jersey, they're like, yeah, just move her up one.
They're like, can she count? They put me in a test, and I remember I had to like do stuff with money. They gave me a bunch of coins.
Were
I had to have
were you
problems.
a drug mule? Sending you to the
Oh my
corner
God.
shop to buy some like guanciale.
There was a guy who lived next door to us who had like a pool and would like let us use the pool. And I only found out this year that apparently he was a homicide detective.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. It's super cool.